You are listening to the Cattle Call Podcast. This is the place where computer-aided design and drafting meets humor and practicality, with a touch of business acumen thrown in for fun. Jim and Rocco, the owners of Zentech Consultants, the premier U.S. technology consulting firm for architecture, engineering, construction, and manufacturing, discuss the fascinating world of CAD with some humor and some honesty. The Cattle Call Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Cattle Call Podcast with Jim and Rocco from Zentech Consultants. I am your charming and effusive host, Jim, and with me, as always, is that guy I let talk sometimes.
The better-looking one, Rocco.
Oh, look at you getting all humorous this morning. Maybe I should let you talk more. That's right. We have a special guest in with us today. Kim Fuhrman is back with us once again. Good morning, Kim. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me again, even though I deserted you.
That's all right. We don't mind that at all. So today, we're going to be talking about what's new in the Autodesk world, right? So we're going to talk about the latest goings-on over at Autodesk, and to help us do that, we asked our old friend Kim Fuhrman back onto the show, and she yelled at me last night because I called her our old friend, and she's not. She's young and charming and vibrant. Just we've known her for a while, so that's all I meant. Nothing personal. So Kim has a very long history here in the CAD world, working for years over with Augie, and she worked with us for quite a while, over here at Zentech. But nowadays, she's made the move to work directly with the big dogs, and she's working for Autodesk as their Revit Community Manager, which is an impressive title, right?
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that comes with a much better salary than the one Rocco lets me have. Rocco's cheap.
Oh, well, I heard Rocco's going to double your salary.
Wait, what is 0 times 2? I don't, but it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Kim. So thanks for being here today.
It's always a joy to be here.
Yeah, even we don't believe that. So for starters, let's get some input into what you're doing nowadays, right? So how did you even get the Revit Community Manager title over at Autodesk, and what exactly does it mean, and what are you doing there?
Yeah, so kind of a funny story. I was kind of looking through LinkedIn and actually had a message on LinkedIn from a recruiter from Autodesk, and of course, I don't know about you guys. With me, I just kind of discount recruiters, and maybe I won't do that now. But this recruiter from Autodesk reached out to me and said, "Hey, I think you'd be a good fit for this new role that's coming up." And so, I threw my name in there and went through the very lengthy interview process. It took about 2 months. And so after that, I was, very honored to have been selected. And like I said, it is a brand new role at Autodesk. The Revit Community Manager actually came out as a part of the response to the Architect's Open Letter. I'm sure that you've seen that came out last summer. And so my role really is to close the loop with the community and make sure that the Autodesk community, the Autodesk customers, Revit customers in particular, are getting their voices heard, and that they know that Autodesk is listening, and we are, interested in the feedback that they have. And so what I do right now is quite a wide variety of things. I manage the Revit Ideas page, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. I work with the research community. I work with the marketing departments, and also work with the product teams in the preview release or the beta program. So really a little bit of everything.
Yeah, so you're not busy at all, right? You're just that doesn't take any time out of your day.
Right. I had a notification from Cortana in Microsoft that looked at my schedule this week and said, "You have a lot of meetings scheduled. Do you want to schedule some focus time?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, like that's an option.
Right. Yeah, but so far so good. It's been awesome.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, all right. So let's focus the conversation here on Revit, since that's your specialty. So we'll start there, to get going. So, there's no doubt that Revit is still it's the premier BIM modeling tool out on the market, and that does not seem like it's going to change anytime soon. Revit is the mainstay for a ton of architectural firms, particularly on large scale projects. And it boasts a whole slew of really powerful BIM data and 3D modeling tools. And obviously, I know that Kim's a Revit expert. I mean, she did all of our Revit work here at Zentech for a long time. So trust me, folks, when I tell you she is one of the best around. See, look at me being nice. Thank you. I appreciate that. I needed it. That's how I'm going to get my coffee today. One of the things that I do find really interesting that you're working with now, Kim, is like you mentioned earlier, is the Revit Ideas page. I'm really interested in the level of impact, right, that user input has with the Autodesk development teams. So, can you explain to our listeners what the idea page is, how they can access it, right? What's its purpose, and how does that info that you're developing there get worked into the Autodesk development structure?
Yeah, so the idea page is part of the forums. So you can go to forums.autodesk.com, go to Revit Products, and under Revit Products, you'll see the page for Revit Ideas. And the Revit Ideas was actually created in 2016. So it's been around for about 5 years. And it is a place for people to suggest improvements and or new features that they would like to see in the software. As of right now, we have well over 8,000 ideas, which is insane.
That's a lot to sort through.
It is. And that's part of my job is to kind of clean those up a little bit. Now, we'll never delete ideas. We may merge similar ideas, and there are a lot of duplicates that people have suggested over the years. So I'm working on doing that. But really, I'm looking at the Revit Ideas constantly. Our product teams, our product managers and so forth, they are also reviewing all of the ideas at any one time. And so when they get to a point in their development process that they're ready to add new features, they're certainly going to review the Revit Ideas as well as other sources of feedback that they have, and they'll be selecting ideas that they feel that they can implement into the software. There's a lot that goes into that. There's whether the idea is financially feasible for the company, whether it makes sense to do this. There are some things that are more difficult to implement. There are some things that are very easy to implement. And so they try to find a nice balance of features and improvements that they can put into the Revit software.
Okay. All right. And do you have the yes or no vote on those?
I do not. Now, I can certainly, if I see an idea that's, kind of gaining popularity very quickly, I may send that over to the product managers and say, hey, this one's kind of a hot topic. You might want to, take a look at this. Okay. But I have no influence on whether whether an idea, is implemented or not.
Okay. All right. I figured I'd try and convince Autodesk to give you the thumbs up.
You can't bribe me. Yeah.
All right. So, Rocco, so let's talk about our clients in terms of this, right? So in terms of user feedback and participating in forums like the Revit Idea page, how do most of our clients respond to that? Do you see that they're actively interested in giving feedback or participating in beta groups and surveys and the like, or do we find that people are just too busy to get involved? Is this something we see a positive response to?
It's a good mix. I mean, I definitely run into folks that are open to giving feedback and to working with beta. But so it's weird because I think in discussing it now, I think it happens more in a medium to larger firms where you get people who are more engaged. I think in the smaller firms, everybody's just got so many things going on and pulled in a million different directions that it's difficult. But the thing that I'll say publicly here is that you really have no right to complain if you're not gonna when there's kind folks like Kimberly and Autodesk as a whole that makes these resources available to give your feedback and ideas. Well, utilize them, right? I mean, it's one thing to complain, but you have an avenue to give that feedback. So why not take advantage of it? Why not take advantage of the beta programs that are out there?
And just to tag on to that, we have different different areas where you can give feedback that aren't quite as involved as the preview release. We have, of course, the Ideas Forum, but then we also have our research community. And our research community is more of a lighter touch, not quite as much time involvement there, but they will put out surveys and they will ask for feedback on specific topics that you can choose to reply to or not. So if you just look for the Autodesk research community, that's another way that you can get involved as well.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna tell you folks that Rocco was taking shots at me with his answer. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Rocco will tell you, when it comes to doing surveys or getting involved in forums or beta testing and networking groups, I am just the grumpiest old man on the planet. I never ever want to take time for any of those things. But look, I do admit my approach isn't always the best one. And honestly, like you guys are saying, you can't develop a better product without user interaction and feedback. And honestly, we even do that with in-house here with our own Zen estimate tools and stuff. We ask our clients to suggest new tools and processes and so on. And Autodesk has, to their credit, they've always been big on running these formal programs for this type of input from their end users. Albeit to, varying degrees of success and support over the years. But Kim, I know you're also involved with the Autodesk Group Network. How does that one work? I mean, how is it different, right? Are you dealing with all the group pages out there? Are you staying strictly on the Revit side of things? And what do you see as the real big positives that Autodesk pulls from maintaining and hosting these groups?
Yeah, so the Autodesk Group Network was actually created to provide support for Autodesk user groups, local user groups, groups like Augie and Expert Elite. Mm-hmm. And so from my standpoint, I'm actually still on the board of directors for Augie. So as far as the Autodesk Group Network, I work with them from an Autodesk employee standpoint by helping to support these user groups as well as representing Augie for them. So it's really another way for Autodesk to connect directly with their customers, and that's really become kind of the focus for Autodesk is being a customer company. Okay.
Yes, I didn't even know you were still with Augie, so that's always good to hear. Yes. That's nice. So
yeah, I stepped down as president. I kind of passed that baton off to Katie King. She's doing a great job, but I am still on the board.
Excellent. Good. So, all right. So I think we're going to take a quick break here to listen to today's sponsor, who is unfortunately not Autodesk. Bum. Though, I think Kim should be hitting them up for us for future episodes. I'm just saying.
I'll work on that.
There you go. All right. So when we get back, we want to talk with Kim about the new stuff that is coming down the Autodesk highway. So we'll be back in a few minutes with more of the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, Rocco. So we are sponsoring ourselves yet again today. What is it we want to talk about?
We're going to talk about me today, Jim.
No one wants to talk about you. Not even you.
Oh, fine. Let's talk about Zentek Tech Blocks.
Awesome. I like Zentek Tech Blocks. Zentek Tech Blocks are prepaid support hours that let you call on Zentek's experienced technical staff to address all your support questions, problems, help you with workflows and standards, really anything you need on the technology side. We're here to provide the support you need so that your most talented people aren't being dragged into helping everybody else in your company instead of working on the billable jobs that you need them focused on. All right. So Zentek Tech Blocks are available in multiple sizes. We sell them in 5-hour, 10-hour, 20-hour, and 40-hour prepaid support blocks. And if you're interested and you need that sort of help, Rocco, how do they reach out to us?
Yeah, hit up our website, zentechconsultants.net. Give us a ring, 866-824-4459, or even drop us an email, sales@zentechconsultants.net.
All right, Zentek Tech Blocks, the vital support that your people need exactly at the moment that they need it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cattle Call Podcast. And we are talking once again with Kim Fuhrman, one of our favorite recurring guests, who is now part of the global hegemony that is Autodesk. And in this
global what?
Yeah,
what?
Hey,
yeah.
Look at me using big words. That's right, the hegemony.
How do you spell that?
Huh? I don't know. I made it up. Come on, man. Don't. Listen, man, expand your vocabulary. Read a little bit more.
What?
A what? A what now? You know, big controlling company. That's what I'm trying to say there, son.
Okay.
Oh, you troublemakers. All right, so in this half, I want to delve into the new things that are coming our way from Autodesk, and the direction that Kim sees things moving over the next year or two. So, you know, Kim, you're also involved with the Revit Preview Release Program, right? And that's if I understand it correctly, that's the beta group for upcoming releases. And I know that you can't promise anything or give details on future releases, but in general terms, you know, where do you see the focus being placed on Revit and BIM development from the Autodesk side?
Yeah, so as you know, we're heading into this new release season. So Revit 2022 will be coming out very soon. I can't say when, but it will be coming out very soon. It has a lot of fantastic new features in it. I think this will be probably one of the better releases we've seen in a few years. But as far as, you know, where we're going from here, of course, we're continually developing the software. And some of the things that we're going to start focusing on and continue focusing on are addressing some long-standing core requests, you know, things that are maybe, how should I say it, pet peeves or you know, things that just need to be fixed in the software. So we're going to be looking at some of those. We're going to be continuing down the path of building out some accessible data, especially looking for, you know, the IFC interaction and that kind of, you know, how can we pool this data? How can we make this data accessible for scheduling and for reports and, you know, really getting that information of the BIM out there and available and, you know, usable for, you know, for our project teams. So, and then we're going to be looking ahead, you know, what's the future of design, of building, of infrastructure, and how are all these going to interrelate? How have things changed, you know, even since, you know, we've had this past crazy year of COVID? How does that change how design works? How has that changed how people are working? And, you know, how can we, with our Revit software, how can we make everyone's jobs a little bit easier? So, you know, a lot of things that really are kind of future facing, but we still want to make sure that the software that you have today helps you to be productive. And so that's really kind of the gist of what we're looking at with Revit.
Okay. Yeah, here, you want a pet peeve? It's not even a pet peeve, just, you know, a recommendation.
Here we go.
Put a recommendation for it. Now, this is just something we get, you know, a lot. Like, so, you know, we do a lot of work with Revit and clients. But the one area I think where Revit really needs to grow, and it sounds like you're actually at least looking in that direction, which is good. I think that it's a wonderful designer's tool, but I think it lacks a little bit, and I think that an area that needs to be focused on with Revit is really on the construction output, the ability for people in the construction world to be able to take the data that's been built into the design and extract it in a simple and meaningful way. Right, something where, you know, they can easily pull out. So that's something we hear quite a lot. Yeah. It's the construction guys who are always like, "Look, man, I know this is great for the designers, but I haven't the vaguest idea where to even start with this stuff." So simplifying that.
That's really, you know, Autodesk just came out with our Autodesk Construction Cloud. I don't know if you've looked into that, but that's really where, you know, that's headed, and especially with document management, with coordination. Data and analytics, you know, it's all in there.
Yeah. Yep. I did. I attended your last webinar on that. So
yeah,
I'm up on it.
We've heard you, Jim.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, it's not me. I'm just passing along what the clients say. No one wants to hear what I have to say. Just ask Rocco. He'll tell you. Shut up, Jim. Nobody cares. So, yeah. The one thing he has to chime in on, yeah. All right. So, you know, one thing that was a recurring conversation that I had with a lot of people at Autodesk, you know, back when you know, back in the day when Rocco and I were part of their partner channel, it was the concept of a single centralized design model. And I know that, you know, Revit sort of works that way with their shared model concept, but I remember a lot of conversations that I had focused around building a single data file in one single format that could be hosted in the cloud, and it would be accessible and editable by all the Autodesk software packages, right? So kind of, in other words, the civil guy, the structural guy, the architect, the MEP engineers, everybody could access the same project using their own brand of software and have all their changes interact and show and display for every stakeholder on the job. And that to me was always like, the holy grail of the CAD world. So Kim, right now talking to Holy Grail, right now that you're part of like the Autodesk round table, how close are you guys to that grail? I mean, is that something that's still being pursued, or has that kind of been written off as just not being practical?
In some ways, like I said, with the Autodesk Construction Cloud, I think that is where that's headed, to have that single source of truth and, the centralized model, the centralized project management and so forth. I think there is a fine line coming from my experience in, architectural design and so forth, that we have to be careful. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but legally, who owns the data, who is responsible for, what part of that data. And so I think that's something that, I can't, this is just, again, my personal opinion, not an Autodesk viewpoint, but I think there's that ideal where, everybody's working in the same model and everybody gets along and the building goes up perfectly and there's no issues.
That doesn't happen on every job.
It happens at Disney.
Right.
Yeah. Disney makes it happen, right?
Right.
Unless you work for Disney, but that's a whole other story.
But I think I think that's kind of a utopia that may or may not ever be reached. But we're here to kind of provide the tools to head in that direction, but it's really up to the people that are using the software to determine how or when that happens.
Okay. That's a fair point. I never really actually thought about the legal issues involved in that, but you're right. That data is proprietary to the design firms. So That's an interesting point. So all right, I'll give you that one. All right, no problem. So one of the things that you did for us when you were working with Zentech was generating blog posts and articles around Revit processes and features. And I understand that you're still doing that over at Autodesk, sort of, keeping the user base, abreast of the, newer, better, faster ways for getting stuff done. And I think that's a vital function, and you were always really good at it. So I'm glad you're keeping your hand, in that mix. So let me add, what's on your desk right now? Right? What topics are you writing about that you think are really exciting in the Revit world and that our listeners should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so of course with the new release coming out here in a few weeks, we're working on a blog post that's going to take a deep dive. We'll have your typical what's new blog post that'll actually be written by our project manager. But we're also working on a blog post it's going to be called By the Numbers. So keep a lookout for that one. It's going to take a deep dive into Revit improvements, things that our customers have suggested that have been implemented now into this new release, and really some nerdy statistics, because I'm a nerd, but nerdy statistics into how Revit has improved over the years, and kind of a look back at the history of Revit, how we got to where we are today. So yeah, keep a lookout for that. Once we get through this release cycle, we're going to start our preview release again. And the one thing that I'll be doing is doing monthly webinars in the preview release. So we'll be having, we'll be highlighting a new feature that our teams are working on every month. We'll be having our developers come on and just talk about what they're working on every month. So if you're not part of the preview release, I highly encourage you to do so. You can, even if you don't spend a whole lot of time testing, you can still see what their product teams are working on at any one time, and certainly give feedback there as well.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So Rocco, Mr. Heckler in the background there. Yeah, I know when Kim was writing for us, I mean, her blog posts were some of our most popular, right? Particularly the Revit ones that she did. Have we had a lot of people looking for more Revit info from us, and of course, are they missing Kim's skill and wit?
Of course.
Of course.
Of course they are.
Yes.
No, I mean, people are
Especially
always looking for this content. It's what'd you say, Kimberly?
I said especially the wit.
Right, exactly. I think folks are always looking for that content, right? I mean, part of the reason is it's for free.
That helps.
Yeah.
Well, now
But,
you can link the Revit blog to your site. How about?
there you go. That's a good idea. Yeah. So I think the technology is always changing. Like you guys, I don't need to tell you guys this, right? I mean, so you got to kind of follow the trends and what's going on, where it's going. If you're just it's not, the software isn't a platform anymore where you can buy it and stick with it for 10 years. And there's good and bad in that, but let's focus on the good. That you're always kept current. So having the blog content out there is definitely helpful for folks.
Okay. Yep, it's good stuff. So, all right. So, listeners here of the podcast, right? They know that I have taken my pot shots at Autodesk, control over the CAD market in the past. And poor Kim has had to listen to my concerns with their business practices more than a few times while she was on air with us. And I'm sure this is an uncomfortable topic. But listen, I have always maintained though that Autodesk, they got to the position that they're in by generating outstanding products. I mean, each package has some bugs and some issues. All software does. But Autodesk tools like Revit and Civil 3D are really, really good at what they do, right? I mean, listen, everybody who's on this podcast here today, right? We have a long history of working with these products. We built careers and businesses around them, at one level or another.
I'm just here for fun.
That's true. Rocker just shows up for my charm and my wit.
Yes.
Yes. So,
And the disappointment.
And then we're done now. That's it. We're not talking to Kim anymore. Making fun of my wit. I mean, she's not wrong, but still, it was mean to say. All right. So with that said, Kim, I want to give you the opportunity here, right, to talk about the positive side of working with, directly with Autodesk, right? You've kind of had the chance now to see, behind the curtain, as it is, after coming from the outside. So, what do you think are the best things that Autodesk is doing? All right, and where should a grumpy old dude like me cut them some slack because I'm complaining without actually seeing the bigger picture?
Yeah, so I guess a couple things come to mind. Coming from the field and architectural design, for, as someone so eloquently put it, almost 30 years. I feel like I have the customer perspective that Autodesk wants from all of their customers, not just me. And so it kind of puts me in a position of being an advocate. I've answered quite a few Revit ideas with, hey, I understand your frustration. I know that this is, an issue. I've dealt with this, myself. And so coming from a customer perspective, I'm not coming into this position from a software development perspective. Don't ask me. I can't develop software. I don't know what goes into it. I think the guys that are guys and gals that are doing that are geniuses. But I can certainly empathize, with our customers. I can certainly empathize with our product teams, our product developers, and, kind of make that connection between the two and say, what, Autodesk, to our customers, Autodesk is listening. They want your feedback. They are, they do read those Revit ideas. They do read, when someone sends a tweet or, posts something on LinkedIn or something, we do read those, and we're well aware kind of that sentiment. We're trying to change that sentiment and say, okay, the concerns that you have are valid, and we're, if I had a magic wand and could put all of those Revit ideas into Revit, I certainly would do that. So we want to help our customers understand the process. We want to help them know that, that they are important to us and that their feedback really does matter. And, we want to be able to make that connection, close the loop. It's kind of our catchphrase right now, but we want to close that loop of communication, so that it's not just a one-way street. We want to make sure that our customers are aware of what our product teams are working on at any one time. So we have, not just the preview release, but you can also look for the Trello public roadmap for Revit. And this is just a page that shows exactly what the teams are working on within Revit. So it's broken down into each kind of discipline. And, you can go on there. You can even go on there and vote for items, so you can show how important these things are to you as a customer. And so, looking behind the curtain, I can see, kind of I don't want to say frustration, but tension on both sides. And so, it's trying to be that that connection between Autodesk and the customer, and saying, hey, I understand what's going on. I understand what's going on, from the development side. I understand what's going on from the customer side, and how can we work together to make Revit better is really the end goal.
That's a good answer. I like it. So that works.
Are you still grumpy?
Well, I'm always grumpy. It just comes with age and sore back. It's just not going to go away, at least until I get to my hard ciders tonight, in which case I'll be feeling no pain and I'll be a happy guy. So, all right. I think we're going to leave today on that positive note. And Kim, I want to thank you for being back on the show. And as always, you have an open invitation to just pop in and talk about anything at all that you want.
That's awesome.
Even Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, even with or without Jim. Jim doesn't have to be here. You can tell him, go home. You and Rocco talk. It's all good.
All right.
All right, folks.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. It's
always a pleasure, Kim. Thank you. All right, everybody, we're going to get out of here, and we will catch you next time on the Cattle Call Podcast. All right, everybody, today's Cattle Call was brought to you courtesy of Zentech Consultants. That's Rocco and I. Zentech Consultants works with design and manufacturing firms to help our clients purchase and implement the software that they need in these complex industries. We provide a single point of contact for clients to buy, develop, and learn the most vital software systems for your specific needs. Zentech strives to be your trusted technology partner from your initial needs all the way through long-term support and training for your entire staff. So Rocco, why don't you tell them how to reach out to Zentech?
All right, yeah, you can reach out to us through zentechconsultants.net. You can email us at sales@zentechconsultants.net, or you can even call us, 866-824-4459.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing from you all.